up your Valentine's Day, doesn't it? He says, hey, don't love anything. Well, the NIV doesn't really place this in the right context. It can read a bunch of different ways. Here's one way. This is the Message translation. It says, verse 15 like this. Don't love the world's ways. Don't love the world's goods. Love of the world squeezes out your love for the Father. It says it squeezes it out. Meaning there's no room for it. When you love all these things so much and they're so important to you, you never notice that your relationship with God lacks. Why? Because you're putting all these things in a pedestal where God should be. You're just taking them and you're taking them and they are what you have. If you're someone who's ever had a drinking problem, I have. Here's what you do. When something really great happens, what do you want to do? We want to drink. Why? Because you celebrate. If something really bad happens, what do? You want to drink so you can forget it. It takes the place of God. It changes your entire outlook on life. If you're someone who smokes, most of us have at some point. Do you know anyone who smokes who isn't at one point saying, I'm trying to quit? No. It's an addiction. It's an addiction that you give yourself to at all times. It's just given to you. You're giving yourself as a sacrifice to it at all times. Your health, your relationships, everything. Addictions are things that sometimes we can compromise. And we can say, well, I can't help it. I can't help it. There's no self-control involved here because I can't help my addiction. Well, this scripture speaks to that a little bit because here's what is the truth of the matter. Okay? You don't become addicted to things you don't like. You get addicted to your sinful desires, the things that you put before God. It's like this. I've known a lot of addicted people. I've counseled a lot of people with addictions. I've never met someone who's addicted to broccoli or asparagus. I've never had someone say, man, I can't stop doing push-ups. I mean, I am so addicted to those. Man, those push-ups are killing me. All the time I want to do push-ups. We don't get addicted to things that are good for us. And we don't get addicted to things you really don't like. You get addicted to pleasures. Why? Because there's an ingrained self in you. And it says this, I have a need for God. I need someone to comfort me. I need someone to fulfill me ultimately. I need someone to love me. I need someone to escape from this reality with. That's what I need. And your personality just needs that. Sigmund Freud, renowned atheist, says everyone has a God-shaped hole. Everyone does. And they fulfill it with a lot of things. All those things. You put them in there. You add them. You say, well, this is what my God will be. You don't actually say it, but it's the truth. You choose those things over God. You fall in love with things of this world. When he says, do not love the things of this world, that's what he means. Don't love them more than me. Don't. I am the real thing. Stop going for a cheap imitation of me. John's words, they resound with an Old Testament story. One that he would have known well, one that many of you know well. And it's gotten a reputation for not being the most pleasant story in the Bible. But if you think that, you're not reading it right. Genesis chapter 22, turn with us. This is a lot of the heart of what John's talking about here. Genesis 22. Now, this is the exact story that you want to talk about on Valentine's Day with your special someone. You probably wrote her a card, right? And it had the words of Abraham sacrificing his son Isaac. That's what you did? Oh, it's not well? Okay. Well, here is the story. Now, it is a love story among other things. You don't think it is because you've always viewed it through the eyes of you and not the eyes of God who started the story. To misunderstand the story, all you have to do is not pay attention to the first two verses of it. If you skip those verses, then it's easy. I will misunderstand this. I will think God is not a God of love. It'll be simple. But when you read the Bible, you have to read it all to truly understand who God is. Verses 1 and 2 of Genesis 22. Sometime later, God tested Abraham. He said to him, Abraham, here I am. Imagine if God said that to you. Hey, here I am. I'm right here. Then God said, take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will tell you about. Doesn't sound like very much loving. Here's one thing. Notice how Moses writes this, though. He writes it in a way to not even have a twist ending for you. The first verse says this: sometime later, God tested Abraham. He tested him. There is no twist in the plot for us. This is why he writes it this way. This is a Jewish way of writing. They give away the ending when they first tell a story so that you can pay attention to what the story means. That's what this story means. He says, sometime later, meaning right before this, Abraham, he got very rich. And he knew all that was promised to him. And he knew all these wonderful things. He finally had his little boy. It says, sometime later, God tested Abraham. He tested him. Now, those of you who are parents, those of you who are wanting to be parents, you'll understand Abraham and his wife's life a little bit. They are very old at this point, but they've always wanted a child for years upon years. They have prayed for it, and it wasn't granted. Finally, it was granted. Now, the word Isaac is the word for laughter in the Hebrew language. It's for laughter. Why? Because when Sarah was told about it, she laughed. She said, are you kidding me, God? I mean, I'm like 90 years old. Why am I having a baby? And God's answer, well, you prayed for it for 90 years. So, baby, there you go. Don't be surprised when I bless you when you ask for it, is what he's saying. So they have their young boy Isaac. He's born, and they're probably like parents like many of us, okay? Like a lot of us. You remember when your kid was real young, and you would just crack the door of their room and watch them sleep? I mean, it was just the most fascinating thing to you. Yesterday, we're on a long road trip, and we look in the back seat, and I say to Emily, I say, will you ever get tired of watching those kids sleep? I mean, they're just so beautiful. They're so peaceful. There's no corruption in them. They're innocent. Abraham and Sarah were probably like that. They probably just watched Isaac sleep because he was their son. They could not wait for him. As he grew up, probably like a lot of us, he probably got into some trouble every once in a while. Maybe they were doing work in the yard, and Isaac would be playing on the front porch, and he was getting ready to fall off. But they would always come out and check. Is he okay? Is he fine? They were parents like us. Let's not make them into figments of our imagination. This is history. This was real. They loved them that much. In the beginning of the story, it says, and at that time, God decided to test him. To test him. Now, Abraham is one of the richest people in the world at this time, history says. He had all of the cattle, he had all the servants, he had all the land, he had everything he would want. He was a rich man. But when God tested him, he didn't test him with his money. It wasn't like the rich man who came to Jesus and Jesus said, sell all your possessions. Why? God does not need to compete with Abraham's money because that's not the bait that Satan was using on him. It was a different kind of bait. It was a bait that seems pure. The bait was his little boy who he'd been praying for all these years before he met him. And he finally met. That was the bait that Satan was using. Because possibly Abraham and Sarah, although they loved God, they began to love Isaac. Notice how he says, Abraham, here I am. Sometimes when we're so mixed up in each other, loving each other and things of this world, don't you just need God to say, hey, here I am.